Since Mike Bloomberg is having problems getting his footing in these Democratic debates, I think his debate prep actually went in between the past two to make sure he launched his comedy tour, because he had a couple of good zingers. They were just badly placed. Let's check this one out.
Let me also say, because since I have the floor for a second, that I really am surprised that all of these, my fellow contestants up here, I guess would be the right word for it, given nobody pays attention to the clock. I'm surprised they show up, because I would have thought after I did such a good job in beating them last week that they'd be a little bit afraid to do that.
Okay, that's when you know the crowd was paid. Okay, because that was the worst delivered line in American history. Like Klobuchar is thinking, and they make fun of me, right? Klobuchar seems like Chris Rock by comparison, right? And I noticed when we replayed it, I didn't notice it live. When we replayed it, people were like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Am I getting paid, Mike? Mike, the check's in the mail, right? You laughed at that. There's no human that laughs at that unless they're paid to laugh at that.
There's even the setup went with it. He goes, so now that I have the floor for a minute, because they probably told him in debate, because he skipped the town hall. Remember, he skipped it on Monday or something. He was supposed to participate.
Debate prep, yes.
So he can do some debate prep. The debate prep was particular, like 5 or so setup lines. Go after Bernie. Say the NDAs, you release those, everything is fine, everything is cool on that now, women love me. And then crack a couple of jokes. People gonna think you're more like, the puppy video is gonna match up with you more now. But he forgot, like, it has to flow with the flow of the debate, not just, I have 30 seconds. Okay, everybody, now that I have the floor and no one's listening to the debate moderator, how about do you know where this joke was?
He's so formidable because he's so charismatic. You know?
So when he said it, I didn't realize it was a joke. You guys in the room said it was a joke, and then I was like, oh, because I thought he was being over the top insane. Like, oh no, I won the last debate. No, if you don't agree, I'll give you $100. But then I realized, oh, he's trying to make a joke. That might even be worse.
Why are you calling attention to it? Like, it doesn't even make any sense.
It's self-deprecating, because this pompous billionaire would never be like, I got my ass kicked in the last debate.
Yeah, and he made a joke about the naked cowboy.
Jayar is so right. His consultants told him, you know what real people do, Mike? Okay, these plebeians that aren't part of the intelligentsia. Mike's like, oh, I don't do that. What do they do? Okay, they sometimes will make fun of themselves. So, well, why would they do that when they could just buy people to applaud them? Silly plebs, right? They're like, no, Mike, it makes you more endearing because you're, seems rather absurd. Let's give it a shot.
The voice you're giving him actually makes him sound way more interesting than he is. He's more just like, I did so bad at the Democratic debate. That's what I did so bad. Like, he's so nasally and monotone. It's just.
You're right, Emma. He's like the least charming man you've ever met. But the mainstream media is like, oh, we got our answer. Did you see he killed it with that joke?
People's sexiest man alive right there. Yeah, put him on the cover. He's just not,
So actually following Bloomberg's opening, lashing out at least to come after Bernie Sanders, because of course he's the front runner right now. Bernie actually had something to say in response to him, which was, I think, one of the most obvious observations you could actually make about him that everyone already knows. But you know what, sometimes it just needs to be said. Let's see what Bernie had to say.
Mayor Bloomberg has a solid and strong and enthusiastic base of support. Problem is, they're all billionaires. Now, if you look, on the other hand, of the last 50 polls that have been done nationally, Mr. Bloomberg, I beat Trump 47 of those 50 times. If you look at battleground states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, polling just
the polls aren't the election.
I beat Trump. And if you want to beat Trump, what you're going to need is an unprecedented grassroots movement of black and white and Latino, Native American and Asian people who are standing up and fighting for justice.
Anybody
That's what our movement is
in this
about.
room?
Did they practice the weird way to boo too? I mean, I've been to many sporting events and we boo sometimes. We go boo, not
this primal scream.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was
not a boo.
That was the scream of the billionaire class. I do declare. There are no regular folks booing that billionaire line. Look, man, that was accidentally the funniest thing that ever happened in a debate. And now I'm making this part up because it's fun. But I feel like Bloomberg was looking at the audience like, this is when you boo him.
There's Warren Buffett in the back.
Commence the booing, like I told you earlier. Okay. You have excited fans who are billionaires, and then the billionaires go, boo! That's not true. I think you might have kind of just given yourself away.
This is weird. Okay, so of course the booing was extended and it was on and on. And I think that was one of the first moments when I was like, wow, this is weird, because I didn't know about the whole like potential with the crowd and the price of the tickets. I was like, this is weird. Like everything is off the rails tonight. Like not just the candidates, but also the audience. I'm not sure if have I missed it the previous times when people were this vehement. It only came in once Bloomberg came in and then had, of course, his cabal.
No, like sometimes people get excited in debate, and I've seen people get excited for Bernie, I've seen him get excited for Warren. But this felt weirdly out of place. I mean, when a line critiquing billionaires never gets booed, ever in America, if the audience is real people. There aren't people making $40,000 a month, $40,000 a year, $40,000 a month, okay? Even that wouldn't even come close to a millionaire, let alone a billionaire. But anyway, making $40,000 a year going, oh, he criticized billionaires, boo! I mean, I can't get over how absurd that is. In fact, I'll pull a Mankiewicz here. Can you guys, while Emma's gonna make her point, can you guys bring that clip back? Let's just watch the beginning of it until we get to the boo again. Yes.
No, I was just about to say, or the time that they booed, like in a post-Me Too era where they're gonna boo Elizabeth Warren, bringing up the sexual harassment of Mike Bloomberg. Like that is not where the Democratic base is at all.
Okay, so let's hear the scream of billionaires one more time.
Mayor Bloomberg has a solid and strong and enthusiastic base of support. Problem is they're all billionaires. Now, if you look, on the other hand, of the last 50 polls that have been done nationally, Mr. Bloomberg,
First of all, you had the booing. I do declare, right? But then we missed it on the first go around. I love Bernie going, ooh.
He pointed at Bloomberg like, get your people, they sound weird.
Collect your folks over here, man.
And I like how they really go, boo, like he paid them to boo. So they're gonna put the emphasis on the B and the emphasis on the O. He's like, contractually.
How do people do this? I believe it goes, boo.
So I'm sorry, I haven't seen this one yet. But apparently Bloomberg was paid people to cheer from the crowds. We'll talk. Someone mentioned it. I'll see if that fits here along with the same narrative here. Video 12.
Let's talk about education. South Carolina's schools score in the bottom half of the national assessment. Black students here consistently score worse than white students. Mayor Bloomberg, a key element of your response to failing schools in New York City was a dramatic increase in public charter schools. As president, would you pursue that same strategy and seek to expand charter schools nationwide?
I'm not sure they're appropriate every place. I can only tell you in New York, they provided parents with an alternative to send students to them. We had the charter schools are mixed in with the non-charter public schools because our charter schools are public schools as well. They've helped each other. I saw a statistic the other day. When I came into office, 0 New York City schools were in the top 25 of the state. When I left, 23 out of 25 were from New York City. We've cut the gap between the rich and the poor.
Mr. Vice President,
I was mentioned in this.
No.
I'd like to respond.
Go ahead, Senator.
He called me out by name and referred to what I talk about as a sideshow. You know, this is personal for me. When I was 21 years old, I got my first job as a special education teacher. I loved that job. And by the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. The principal wished me luck and gave my job to someone else. Pregnancy discrimination, you bet. but I was 21 years old. I didn't have a union to protect me, and I didn't have any federal law on my side. So I packed up my stuff and I went home. At least I didn't have a boss who said to me, kill it. The way that Mayor Bloomberg
never
alleged
said
to
that.
have said to one of his pregnant employees. People want a chance to hear. People want a chance to hear from the women who
I never said that.
I want to allow the mayor
for the record, if she was a teacher in New York City, she would never have had that problem. We treated our teachers the right way, and the unions will tell you exactly that.
Well,
no, that's
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. That's the most bought and paid for audience in American history. So he did a stat about the New York City schools, and they're like, yay, they're in South Carolina. Which real people who live in South Carolina are gonna be like, oh, good stat about the New York City schools, yeah! That's not a thing. That's not a thing real people do. And then she's talking about how he said kill it about a pregnancy. I mean, that's a very sensitive topic. Real folks don't boo that. Maybe it makes them uncomfortable. It might be awkward. It's worthy of a debate. Did he really say it or did he not say it? But to boo a woman talking about that is unreal.
It's not what the Democratic base does. That's not where they're at. You know, this is a party that values sensitivity towards that very issue which you're talking about. It does not pass the smell test at all. And like, I mean, I think Warren was really taken aback by it, and we saw Bernie like furrow his brow when they booed his billionaire line, because this is not a audience who is representative of the Democratic base.
No, it's really quite sick. I don't know how exactly. We told you already. The seats were $1,750 to $3,200 for the sponsors. I don't know how exactly he bought it, but he bought it. There's no question about it. Then when he said, you know, in New York City, she wouldn't have had that problem, meaning like we wouldn't have fired her for being pregnant like they did in Oklahoma 40 years or 50 years ago or whatever. That's the lowest bar I've ever heard in my life. And they're like, yay, they wouldn't have fired a pregnant woman, yay! That's not how real people react. That's the most rigged crowd I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, because their disdain was not based in the content of any of these comments. It was based in whether or not Bloomberg is starting to look bad. Because of course, in that last debate, she slung his around the stage, and then he was left in those 3 seconds of moments, which felt like 5 minutes, where he's just. And it was even worse. So they need to fill that gap with either anger towards what was just happening to him so we can dispute it, or then when he says something, lots of cheering to just change the mood of what's going on. So they barely heard what she said. They just heard that it was bad for him. Let's start booing. And it built, someone went, ooh, boo! And it's like, it built because they were like, hey, this is our moment, you guys. They held hands and they said, let's go.
He even bought the audience, man. He's the most manufactured candidate we've ever seen. Anyone with eyes and ears can see it, and yet the mainstream media thinks he's the savior. Oh, it makes him not only him repulsive, but all of his media cheerleaders repulsive. Guess why? He also bought them. All those ads go into money that goes on to television stations, which pay for the anchors.
And he did it in New York too. He bought positive press coverage in New York, and it's just fawning for him at this point.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.